Good afternoon. My name is Jim Soper. I am co-chair of the Voting Rights Task Force along with Richard Tam over there. I am a senior software consultant, programmer, and I give talks, and I have a website called Counted as Cast. Every ballot should be counted as cast.org. Now, I usually like to start off by pointing to this little badge. It dates to February 26, 2005, almost 15 years to the day, when the DRTF ran a teach-in. And I went, and Deb Harris and a lot of other people were you there?
I don't know.
In the church?
Oh, one of us.
I was there.
I was. Somebody was. In any case, afterwards, I was on the steps, and a gentleman by the then name of Jim Marsh, now it's Jim Marsh Simpson, came up, and he's a techie, and he knew I was a techie, and he said, "Are you aware that somebody with 23 convictions for embezzlement is programming the Debo machines?" When he told me that, my jaw hit the ground, and I picked it up, and I said, "Oh my God." Being a programmer, I understood immediately the implications that he had total run of everything. Could do whatever he wanted. Why do you hire an embezzler to program a voting machine? If not to steal votes. So that got me started. And then I'm going to jump into the present, but I just want to give that as a little bit of background of this has been going on for a long time. Way earlier than 2005, you can go back to Florida, and then you can go all the way through history. But people have been rigging elections, is what I like to say, since Athens. So this is not new. It's just, what do we do about it? Let's start off with voter registration. 4 years ago, the law said you had to be registered in a party. You had to be registered in Green or Republican because that was the party rules, not the state law. Republican Green said you got to belong to the party in order to vote in that primary. And a lot of people showed up and they haven't even registered. And they couldn't vote, or they were given provisional ballots, and it was pretty much chaos. The Secretary of State got a hint, and they've been working on this. The situation is now, and I'm not totally sure, I know it's true for Los Angeles, and I know it's true for any county that's going to use a vote center, which is something new. It's not all across California, but LA, Santa Clara, much of the San Joaquin Valley will be using vote centers. There's 1/10 the number of vote centers as there used to be precincts. Those precincts are disappearing in those counties. It's county optional. And the law that enabled vote centers said, okay, if you're going to do that, you have to do two other things. One, we have to send vote-by-mail ballots to everybody, whether they ask for it or not. And two, they have to be able to go in and register on the spot or change their registration. Now, I'm hearing things that would say that even if a county isn't using a vote center, you'll be able to do this. So that's an important change, an important improvement. Again, now it's still that if you want to vote Green or Republican, you have to be registered Green or Republican. Anybody else can, in another party or in not what's called the American Independent Party. That's a different political party. It's a far-right party. You don't want to sign up for American Independent, I don't think. You want to be no party preference. Or what I'm going to recommend, and I'm going to try to say it this way, but understand Democrat, because I think that's generally what we have here. You want to register for the party in whose primary you want to vote in. Hold your nose if you have to, but register because that will decomplicate your life a bit. You have the possibility going into the voting place and saying, I'm no party preference, give me a Democratic ballot with the primary candidates for the Democratic Party, or Libertarian, or I forget the others, but you want that ballot. Well, you have to remember to ask for it, and then the poll worker has to know he's got to give it to you, or she. And 4 years ago, they weren't knowing that, and that was provoking problems. So my recommendation is go register in the party you want to vote in. You can deregister the next day, but you're going to save yourself an extra step when you actually need it. Early voting is going on in many counties. I think San Francisco starts next week. Los Angeles may have already started. Check your county registrar. Richard, do you know if Alameda's doing early voting?
I have no idea, but I think it starts 10 days before March
10
2nd,
days
so that
before
would be...
March 3rd, so I'm not quite sure where that
March
puts us, but check and then go in early and vote early.
And often.
No, not often. Good job, no. Vote early, because if there's going to be a problem, you're going to find out then, and you'll be able to come back. One of the advantages of doing these vote centers, which are supposed to be open 10 days in front of the elections, is if they have some kinks early on, they'll be able to get them straightened out. The old system was, you got to vote on Tuesday, one day, and everything's got to work. And this stuff is really complicated. There's a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, and this was a mess. So now they're trying to say, okay, 10 days voting, fewer precincts, fewer polling places, but you get to go 10 days ahead. And if you're in a big county, or any county, you can vote at any vote center in the county. This makes a difference in LA, where people have hour-and-a-half commutes. They can vote near their workplace, for example. So that's part of what they've introduced in some of these new laws. Should be able to register on the spot and then go vote. If there's a problem, if you've gone early, you can go back and get it straightened out somehow. Now we've seen several changes in the voting equipment, really across the country, but also in California. If you've been paying attention to voting in LA, you know that people like Brad Friedman have been raising a storm about the new equipment because LA's introducing their own new equipment. And it just got certified a couple of weeks ago. And that equipment, as well as, and I don't know the specific models, but newer models from Dominion and ES&S have a couple problems.
You should say that those are voting machine companies.
Though Dominion and ES&S are voting machine companies, they make these stuff. Plus, LA makes its own. They're completely apart. The first problem is these machines are called hybrids. What does that mean? Well, you've got a voting screen, you have a tray in the case of LA on the right where your ballot goes, you go vote, and then you say print ballot. And the machine will suck the ballot up, print on it, and put it back out. At which point you are supposed to check that ballot. A very good idea is to go in with your sample ballot marked. So you can cross-check everything, because sometimes, some places, they like to drop the down ballot races and you don't notice. So go in with your sample ballot and cross-check it. And then this is the trick. With a hybrid machine, when you say cast ballot, in LA, the ballot box is behind the tray. The printer is here. And the ballot will go underneath the printer and into the ballot box. There's just an itty-bitty problem with that. It is potentially possible for the printer to print extra things on your ballot. And what I'm going to recommend, it came from somebody, again, with the brouhaha over LA, he said he listened to the machine. Y'all know what his printer sounds like. When you say cast ballot and the ballot's going to go into the ballot box, well, listen. Don't watch, listen. If you hear the sound of a printer, you got a problem. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's potentially there. One thing you can do, and I would recommend, is, and I'm pretty sure this is true for all of California, I know the registrar in LA told me 3 years ago this is going to be true. Take your cell phone with you and videotape the thing. Now, perfectly legal. Okay? So it's no longer me versus the machine. You got it on tape. And if people want election protection, everybody should be going in there, among other things, and listening to see if the printer's going and videotaping the darn thing. And if there's an issue, then there will be local election protection groups. You contact them and say, I had this problem, and so on. So that's a difference. And now the public can get much more involved in just little checking here and there. The other thing is on ballots, again in LA, they have a QR code, which is that boxy thing with a bunch of dots in it. It's a 2D barcode. Some of the other machines just use barcodes. And the trick with that is that these scanners that are going to read the ballots, they're not reading the dots on your ballot, the ovals, or the name on the ballot. They're reading the QR code. And they're getting your vote off of the QR code. Now, how many people can read QR? Not many, no. So this is a problem that's gotten a lot of people upset. There is something of a protection against this, because we had it beforehand, but the law was changed 3 years ago, and there was a big fight over that about audits. If the law now reads, if you're going to do the standard old 1% manual tally of 1% of precincts, every ballot that was delivered by election night, by midnight on election night, has to be potentially going through the audit. And when it goes through the audit, the auditors or the audit machines will read the QR code and check the totals against what was reported before. And this will be an audit of QR codes. So this is not wonderful. There are other states where they don't have this. There's been fights in North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, kind of like all over the country over these kinds of machines. The courts are slowly sort of coming to say, yeah, we have to use paper ballots. Well, these machines use paper ballots, but they're not hand-marked. So the next recommendation, if you get a vote by mail ballot, everybody in a vote center county will get it, whether they ask for it or not, but otherwise go ask for it. Fill it out by hand. And either carry it into the polling place and hand it over. In which case they're keeping counts of how many ballots from vote by mail are coming in, and there's a chain of custody. If you send it in with the post office, everything will probably be all right. But there have been situations where entire bags of ballots have been tossed. So the recommendation there, and I would say, yeah, this spring's primary is important and maybe very close. Carry it in and hand it over. One last thing here. There will be the caucus in Nevada, I believe, next week. Remember Iowa? And they were trying to introduce new computer equipment in 2 months. And it flopped miserably. Well, just after Iowa, the wise men in Nevada said, oh, we're not going to use the Iowa equipment, but we're going to use tablets. Maybe a spreadsheet, but we're going to use tablets. and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm looking at this and it's, you're gonna introduce this new technology in a couple of weeks? Good luck with that. I remember, I helped install systems. You need more than a couple of weeks to get the stuff in, tested, training the user, and so on and so on. I don't have a lot of hope for the matter. Again, like Iowa, everything will be written down on paper. So they will be able to come up with reasonably correct vote totals, just not the night of the election. Maybe everything will work in a moment, but just don't be surprised, be patient, and don't go running around accusing, I don't know who will sabotage the election. If you are a computer scientist and used to getting systems installed, and you're telling, oh, they had just 2 months to do this in Iowa, and couldn't, there was no user training to speak of, the installation was not going through the Apple App Store, you had to do a bunch of stuff as an amateur to get it installed, yada, 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 and I'm just going, no. This is predictably a mess. I'm pretty sure it's just the people who hired these people, the programs that do this, just screwed up royally. And we have screw-ups. That's about it. Do we have any questions?
Any questions specific to California and ask your ballot here? Yes?
I was reading Brad's blog, and he was saying that if you ask for a write-in ballot, they would give you something where you'd have to actually know the name of the person and the name of the...
There is a backup ballot.
There is?
If you show up with no ballot, you don't have your write-in ballot, or your vote by mail ballot, and so on, there is a federal backup ballot, federal vote by mail ballot.
Provisional, right?
Provisional.
I don't know if it counts as provisional or what, but because it's got to be the same ballot across the whole country, you got to write in the name of the race president, senator, whatever, and write in the name of the candidate. This was set up as a backup mostly for people living overseas. Where all else fails, here, use this. Well, they're going to have those in LA. I think most people in LA will have a vote by mail ballot. So they don't have to worry about that. Just carry your vote by mail ballot in. This
So when
is...
you're in there, can you request, once you're voting, can you request a vote by mail ballot?
No.
I'm sorry.
Once you're in there, can you request a vote by mail ballot?
I am not sure if you can get a standard ballot. I think so. But different counties, this is part of the problem in California, much of the country, we have here 58 counties and we have what I call 58 county chaos. Every county runs differently. And this is a major problem. Because I don't live in this county. I live in county over. People say, well, what about Alameda County? I don't know what they're doing. It's different. They're using different equipment, different procedures, so it kind of depends. I certainly would ask for a standard ballot. Okay? And I think they'll give it to you. If you're not satisfied, you come in early, then leave, check what the rules are, and come back. Okay, that's the point of coming in early. Yes, sir?
For what it's worth, Bernie is having a rally Monday at noon
Yeah.
in Richmond, and among other things, will be collecting mail-in ballots. So if you want a place to submit your mail-in ballot,
Bernie's having a rally, and they'll be collecting mail-in ballots. That was a law that was changed a couple of years ago that Voting Rights Task Force fought against. Because it means anybody can come into the election department with literally a truckload of ballots. Dump them on the desk and say, here, come. Well, you don't know where they came from, you don't know if they paid people, etc. We fought it and lost. So yeah, now any organization, I don't care if it's a Bernie rally, a union, a church, whatever organization can collect ballots and hand them in. They're not supposed to be paid to do that, but they can do it. And then there's a practice called, ballot harvesting,
Yeah.
which has got the Republicans terribly freaked out. Because somebody can come up and knock on your door and say, hi, I can take your vote by mail ballot entry.
Yeah.
And they had during, if you remember 2 years ago, the Democrats were behind in about 10 different congressional races and won all of them. Well, because the party was calling people up and saying, make sure you voted with your vote by mail ballot and so on. So there's this late surge. And Republicans were saying, well, there's ballot harvesting going on. What was legal? It was not legal in North Carolina where some guy was doing it. And he got arrested and the election in that district got thrown out and so on. It's legal here. And you can do it. So I will not give my ballot to anybody I don't know. You don't know what's going to happen to it. I would rather give it to the post office, because they have a reasonably good chance they don't get there. But yeah, they've changed the rules on that.
12 years ago, I wanted to vote for Cynthia McKinney, but my primary ballot arrived months late, and I heard on the news that half the green ballots in Contra Costa County were missing. I talked to Mark Lauren. He was head of Deborah Bowen's criminal fraud unit, and he just said no evidence of crime. Bullshit. Conspiring along with Obama's other crimes. But is the head of the criminal fraud unit, the Secretary of State here, still Mark Lauren?
I don't know. I don't know who's running that. It is very hard to get anybody to go investigate these things.
Well, I have solved it. The criminal is named Mark Lauren, and all the crimes of Obama, I would arrest him for as a citizen, citizen's arrest law return 692.
It's just very hard to get convictions on this stuff. Lord knows people have been trying. I think this lady had her hand up a little while ago. Yeah?
Okay, I just wanted to ask about your confidence with the drop boxes for ballots.
Yeah, there's something called a drop box, which is, I've never seen one. But every county's supposed to have them, and it's, think of a metal box with a slot in it, something like that. And you can put your ballot in there, and it stays locked up until the elections department comes by and picks it up. And that's a good way to do it too. Okay, I just have never seen one, but they exist. Well, that's it. Okay. Here.
I just want to clarify, I'm a little hard of hearing, and I'm a little shocked and in disbelief about this. Are you recommending that we do not just go to our polling place and cast our vote?
Yeah, you cast your vote, but on paper, on hand-marked paper.
Okay.
Okay.
You fill out the little dot, or you do whatever they
You
have.
hand-mark it.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll have voting machines, and depending on the county, LA is trying to push these machines out to everybody. And I think other counties, we had a long tradition here since 2006 in Alameda County, when the supervisors in their great wisdom said, okay, in the November 2000 election, the registrars are going to count by hand every vote cast on a touchscreen machine with a piece of paper next to it. Well, the registrar did not want to have to count all that paper. So they just put one machine in the corner, shoved it in the corner, and said if somebody wants to come in and use it, it's their right. But they handed out hand-marked paper ballots to everyone. And that is probably the Voting Rights Task Force first victory. This is 2006. And what happens after that, November 2006, Bowen gets elected in August 2007. She starts writing new regulations, which effectively said, the whole state's going to do like Alameda County. Put the voting machine in the corner and everybody vote on hand-marked paper ballots. And we've been doing that for a long time. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I'm still very confused about this ballot harvesting. It seems illegal,
No, they changed the law.
but you're supposed to
It's
deliberately deliver
insane,
your
but it's not
votes.
illegal.
The law used to read, only a member of your household or family member can bring in your ballot.
Right.
Gone. Anybody can bring in any number of ballots.
Doesn't that sound banana republic to you?
Oh, I won't say anything,
Like
but
the Amazon.
I will just say we fought that tooth and nail and lost. The Democrats were pushing it, the Republicans were against it. On this case, the RTF is nonpartisan. We sided with the Republicans. Because it just, yeah, there's no control over it. Remember that?
I just wanted to bring up a great article by Max Blumenthal in the Gray Zone. Have you ever heard about it, Gray Zone?
Yeah.
It's Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal, wonderful investigative reporters. And what they're doing, what the most recent blog or article is about Iowa and the deep understanding of why it was that way, who owns it, who owns those software companies, Buttigieg's part in it, all of the details that you need to know because it's going to be replicated throughout the country.
I have seen articles like that saying Buttigieg arranged the meltdown in Iowa.
No, he just owns part of the company.
Well, he just owns part of the companies, and I don't buy that. I tend to prefer to think that the technologists screwed up.
Well, you should, everybody else, be open to reading this article.
Go ahead and read it. But that's just a personal opinion. I've known too darn many programmers who've been too darn optimistic. Oh yeah, we can do that in 2 weeks.
But Shadow is talking with Clinton team people, so they hate, the emails say they hate Sanders. That's a step.
Well,
It's easy
Yeah,
to cheat
okay.
with software, man.
I also tend not to like conspiracy theories. Yeah.
Can I change my registration of the mailing form?
Better to do it ahead of time, contact the county office. You should be able to walk in and change it on the spot. That's the theory.
But better to do it beforehand. You do it.
To get it done ahead of time so if there are any hiccups, you can correct them.
Do that online?
I think so.
Yeah, you can.
I think so.
Any other questions for Jen? Okay, very good, thank you.